is about $100,000. And so, yeah, I think, yeah, where is our attention? And whoever you're with, whatever you're doing, give them the gift of that attention. And it's amazing what will happen.
Yeah, that's a really good point. They've given you the gift of their time. Give it back to them. You know, what I love about doing this podcast is every single person I've had on the show, I've taken away something from them. I love your story so far, and I want to dig into some of the business aspects of it. But you said something that I'm going to put into practice immediately, and that's roll over and tell my wife I love her. And
Yeah.
I don't jumping on the phone's the last thing I do. I actually get up, grab my coffee, and I read a book, something positive, to fill my soul up with that for the first 30 minutes of my morning. But
Yes.
more importantly is what you just taught me. So thank you for that. It's a great little piece of advice. We actually fall asleep as a family, my two girls, 5 and 7, and my wife, talking about the things that we're grateful for. We each have to list 3 things out loud that we're grateful for that day. And,
So cool.
And
so cool.
It's amazing. I want to encourage people to try that. My 5-year-old is the best grateful person we have in the family. Like, she nails it, like almost tears every time for me when she says, I'm grateful for these 3 things. So, but thank you for that little tip. You have a book. I'm really jumping far ahead because it's on my screen. It says, I love it here. And I think that's par for what we're talking about, how we feel about others and how we spend our time and express our gratitude. Tell me about I love it here, because it's screaming in my face right now. I like it.
Yeah. So 4 years ago, I started an organization called the Center for Employee Retention. And the underlying foundation to our work was a research study called the Undercover Millennial program. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, Jim, if you've ever seen Undercover Boss. It's kind of like that. It's like that without the makeup. I am the undercover millennial. I am a millennial myself. And how it would work is a company would work with me, and I would go into their organization undercover as a millennial looking for a job. And so I put my backwards hat on, my joggers, my street clothes, and I'd walk into a business, and I'd walk up to the first person that I saw, and I would just say, hey, I'm looking for work. I'm thinking about applying, but I just wanted to kind of talk to some people here and see what you think. What's it like? Mm-hmm. And then they always get quiet. They look around for a minute. Feels like an illegal drug exchange. And then they tell me everything, Jim, everything. The good, the bad, what works, what doesn't work, what they love, who they hate, why they like. It just opens up this real and authentic environment where they can speak their truth. And we've worked with 181 organizations, and Undercover, I've interviewed over 10,000 employees.
Wow.
And the beauty of all of the research was not when an employee was dissatisfied with their job. The beauty of the research was found when I would ask an employee, what's it like to work here? And they would respond with, I love it here.
Yeah.
Oh, I love my job. I love it. Like my manager, Susie, you got to meet Susie. Like our culture, what we're doing. Like, I love where I work. And then when that kind of response would trend in an organization, mm-hmm. that was the magic. And it was always because of the leaders behind those employees who created organizations their people never wanted to leave. And so that's why I called the book and titled it, I Love It Here, How Great Leaders Create Organizations Their People Never Want to Leave. And it is the 4 years of research and the 10,000 stories and perspectives of employees who knew when their leaders were getting it right. Mm-hmm. And it was a beautiful chapter in my life, and I'm excited to get it out to the world.
Let's dig into some of that work you've done with these companies. Talking about different types of managers that are out there and your discoveries there. What's a mentor manager? Tell us a little bit about what comes about within the programs.
Yeah, I think management is an important thing to talk about. And here's the thing: if some of your listeners, if they're like, I'm not in management or I am not a leader, chances are you might be a parent, though.
Yeah.
Right? Chances are you're a friend to somebody, right? Chances are you have a relationship in some way, shape, or form with somebody, right? Let's hope that. So as we're talking, think through that, all those different sectors of life, because they literally are intertwined. Mm-hmm. But management is the number one reason why people stay in an organization, It's also the number one reason why they leave an organization. And I could always trace back whether someone hated or loved their job in some way, shape, or form to the leadership in the organization. So there were always 4 types of managers that existed in those organizations. And the first one was the removed manager. This is the manager that should have stopped working 20 years ago.
They're in the back office, or they're off that day. It's Friday, busiest day of the week.
They're burnt out. They're done. They're not engaged. They have low connection. They don't value the employees. They're just literally physically there, but emotionally, they're gone.
Yeah.
And then second is the buddy manager. Found a lot of buddy managers that they didn't want to ruffle feathers. They wanted everybody to like them. They wanted all of the people to say, you're my friend, you're my homie. Or if you're a parent and you're listening to this is the parent that wants to be the friend. You're not really a parent. You're more of the friend in the relationship.
Yeah.
So that always created a sense of entitlement in the employees where, you've seen those relationships where the kid is more of the parent than the actual parent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's no standards. There's no expectations. And then number 3 was the controlling manager. This was the manager that it was my way or the highway. I'm not here to be your friend. I show you that I love you by giving you a paycheck.
Yeah.
Put your head down, go to work. So they're really high on standards, but they were low on connection. And then that was constant rebellion in what they created. Every employee was trying to go toe to toe with the manager instead of shoulder to shoulder, right? But number 4 was the most powerful, and it's what we call the mentor manager. Or the mentor parent, right? The person that they're equal on their standards. We have rules in this house. We have expectations. But I also understand that you're a person with strengths and talents and loves and interests. And I want to connect on that level with you. So equal on their connection, equal on their standards. And what did this create? Respect. Every time. This was the manager that was respected. They might not always be loved all the time, but they were respected. And it was a beautiful thing to see when an employee, when they hated their job, they hated the manager. But when they loved their job, they loved the mentor. And it was a really cool thing to see between all 4 of those.
Yeah, interesting. I'll tell you a quick story about one of my guests that he told me. What state are you in, by the way?
I'm in Utah.
You're in Utah? Okay. So my brother's the CEO of In-N-Out Burger. Actually recently retired.
Oh, okay.
25,000 employees. They're a $5 billion company. I had him on the show. And it's funny because he's been my brother my whole life. And the one thing I never asked him, I said, what is the favorite part of your job? In your whole career, what have you enjoyed the most? He says, Jim, the best part, the best position I've ever had in the company was being a manager. Mm-hmm. Not the VP, the district manager, the CEO, the president, whatever. It was being the manager because he was an incredible mentor. He loved his team. He looked forward to going to work. And it was amazing because I spent 12 years working for that company, and it's such a wonderful company. And I never heard him say that before. And I just was in awe listening to him talk about what a manager meant and how he related to his people and how it was his team. And he ebbed and flowed with them. When they were sad, he was sad, and I just love that you brought that up because a manager's role is so important to the success of the business or not, and to the people that work there.
Yes. We need to create better work environments where people can actually thrive. Too many people just survive, right? They are existing in the workplace. And it was so cool to see how these great managers that really loved their people created an environment where people lived. They really lived at work. They didn't just exist. And you don't forget those people. I love The Sandlot, the movie Sandlot. Yeah. Great film, right? And you've got the kids. They hit the ball over the fence, signed by Babe Ruth. There's the beast, the big dog that's gonna rip everybody to shreds. But then there's that part, if you remember, Jim, in the film where Benny has the dream.
Yeah.
And Babe Ruth appears in the dream.
Yeah, that's right.
And I love the departing words that he says to Benny. He looks at Benny and he says, remember, kid, heroes get remembered, but legends never die. Yeah. And every time I hear that, I think of Mr. Jensen, right? I think about, Kevin Thomas. I think about Rob Farrell, like great mentors, right? And I change it every time to heroes get remembered, but Mr. Jensen's never die. Those people have like such a lasting impact and influence when they do good mentorship, right? That's what creates loyalty. Like that's what creates buy-in and engagement. Mr. Jensen gave me the drumsticks, and it was a little moment, but that moment represented an investment in me.
Yeah.
That he wasn't there to just teach a curriculum. No, he was there to advocate for kids. And there's a big difference there. And I think, and I've seen it in my research time and time again, when managers learn to do that, that's what increased productivity.
Sure.
That's what increases profit. That's what increased engagement. But we have to start with the individual. And I know it sounds soft. It sounds like the soft skills, like the intangibles, but that really is what matters to your people.
A thought I'm pulling out of this, when I started my podcast, I never did it before. It takes discipline, as you know, consistency. It was all new to me. Within about 4 months, I had a fair amount of shows. I was doing one a week. I was enjoying it, had some good guests. Well, I missed a couple weeks. And I just think I was kind of burnt out or, whatever it was. I missed a couple weeks. And I got some emails and texts and calls going, hey, dude, I Wednesday morning, I got in my car to go to work, and where's the podcast at?
Where's the show?
Where's the show, right? And I didn't think anybody was listening. I mean, I saw the numbers, but I didn't think anyone was actually listening. I realized at that moment that I had created an obligation within my services of providing a podcast with information that people were seeking. And by not doing the show, there was a void. As I'm thinking about the discussion we're having about a manager, not only is there a role that manager plays for the business and the success of his employees, but when you start talking about mentor and you start naming some people that made an impact on your life. My first manager, his name's Jeff Foster. I haven't seen or talked to him in probably 30 years, but I'll never forget him because he was a mentor for a period of time that set me on a pace for the rest of my life, good, bad, or indifferent. And what I want to extract out of this, and you could back me up on this, I want managers that are listening to this show, or future managers that are listening to this show, to know that you have an obligation to be that person that we're talking about, to be that mentor and be something special, because you could be making a much larger impact on somebody's life that you never even realize.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And that's the beauty of it, right? I think, like you talk about your brother, I think he captured that, right?
Yeah.
These great mentors, they capture that it's more than just getting a job done. It's more than just cooking burgers and making sure that customers are taken care of. When you realize that you have that role, that responsibility, and you can play such a monumental person in a person's life, that changes the perspective. It changes the narrative. And I think it brings a higher sense of purpose into what we call management.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're fortunate enough to have that title, it also comes with some responsibility, because you are impacting people's lives. And I would venture to say that 30 years from now, somebody will come knocking on your door or through social media and tell you, you were one of the best managers I ever had. And there's nothing better than that, right?
And I think there's a great challenge there too, Jeff. Like if someone's listening to this and you thought of that person, or you remember, I remember Mrs. So-and-so, or my teacher in the fourth grade, like take a second and try to reach out to them.
Yeah.
Like look them up on Facebook, find them on LinkedIn. Man, teachers and educators and managers, they need the Thata boys, the Thata girls. Like they need a little bit of appreciation, because so many educators that I work with and teach and train, they're with a kid for, a semester, a year, and then the kid leaves. And they don't always get to see the gratifying evidence, the results, the thank yous of the influence that they made. Mm-hmm. And so, take a minute today, like pick up the phone, find that person, shoot them a text and say, I really want you to know the difference that you made in my life. That's how we create a moment. That is another moment for them and for you that will help write a better story.
And by the way, it might just pick that person up when they need it.
Totally.
You have no idea. I'm going to commit. I'm going to reach out to Jeff today. I'm going to find, I know his daughter's on my Facebook.